Hello and welcome to Dubai Life. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Mobility Pavilion in Expo 2020. In case you missed visiting this place, this video will give you a guided tour around the Mobility Pavilion. It's also known as Alif is the first letter of the Arabic alphabet, and that's the name that's given to this pavilion. Alif, it's like the beginning of mobility. The Mobility Pavilion was designed by Foster and Partner. This is a very well-known company and award-winning company in design. This pavilion has got the world's largest passenger lift, which can transport more than 160 people at the same time. Mobility basically means movement, how man has been able to move on land and in space. We start the tour with a girl called Nora. Noah is humming and pointing up in the sky, imagining what is beyond human knowledge and imagination. Is she looking at something? Let's find out. Some of the greatest people who have contributed to our mobility, we can talk about Mr. Al-Kindi. He's from the 9th century. He was born in Baghdad, Iraq. He was a scientist, a talented mathematician, a musician who even invented a sacred language. He wrote and documented a lot of activities that happened during those times, and all the scripts were kept in the House of Wisdom in Iraq. In this mobility pavilion, you had a chance to see some of the scripts that he wrote. This 2D art tells a story of mobility, from food to animals to vehicles, planes and rockets. Very many years ago, man started moving on foot. For many reasons, they had to look for better things, better life, better food, better weather, and whatever they were looking for. But with time, they made shoes and then started moving on animals' backs, then moved onto carriages being dragged by animals, until we came to this life we're in, where we have cars, planes, rockets, and we can move to any place at any time, whenever we want, as long as you can afford it. But this had the beginning of man just wanting to move, that desire to move around the world to find out what is beyond their community. Meet the larger-than-life heroes of mobility. These are the giants of mobility, and the statues are 9 meters tall. It took more than 3 years to do these sculptures with all the details that you can see. The realism on this art is so real. Ahmad ibn Majid, Abu Ubayd al-Bakri, Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Batuta. Let's start with Abu Ubayd al-Bakri, the traveler of the mind from Spain, a man who was born in Spain, where he lived and worked his whole life. He worked at the courts, where he received travelers, merchants and others in his home, and he interpreted their stories in his book of Ways and Kingdoms. He made accurate reference to the geography, culture, religion and trade of Europe, North Africa and Arabian Peninsula, including Dubai. He did all this without traveling to the places, and this is why he is called the traveler of the mind. Their innovations help navigate the world and create the way for technology we use today. What about Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Batuta? Ibn Batuta was born in Morocco, and he spent almost 30 years traveling across Africa, the Middle East and Asia on foot, by sea and camel. He was involved in diplomacy and politics in India and China. He survived dangerous situations during his journeys. His book, known as Rihla, he wrote about journeys and observations about cultures, religion, politics, facts, vegetation, and geography around the world. Another great, Ahmed Ibn Majid, the Lion of the Seas. Ibn Majid was born in Ras Al Khaimah in the United Arab Emirates in a family of mariners. He sailed all over the Indian Ocean and became a master of navigation by stars and using seasonal currents. He shared his knowledge and experience in the book of Useful Information on the Principles and Rules of Navigation. He explained stars' positions, currents, wind, and port locations very accurately. He helped many Arab sailors safely reach their destinations. The Pearl Diver. Dubai started as a small trading city. Water helped with the transportation of traders and goods across different continents, and deep sea diving for pearls and oysters was one of the main economic activities. Humans trained and adapted to holding their breaths for so long and working under extreme water pressure without modern supporting equipment. These men were not scared of getting in trouble with some of the dangerous, powerful creatures like the sharks and whales in the seas. Creating connections and exploring horizons which are at the core of human progress, and build a harmonious global society where information, ideas, goods, and services are exchanged faster than ever before. We are witnessing how mobility drives progress. The rides in the autonomous vehicles and see cutting-edge mobility technologies. See innovative mobility devices in action. We explore space and see how far man is willing to go in space. The latest developments in space exploration, including the UAE National Space Program and the Emirates Mars mission in February 2021. Throughout our existence, from our very first steps out of Africa to space travel to our intercontinental digital world, mobility has driven the development of humankind. We've moved from the deserts to Mars and from the distant past to the near future. See how mobility will continue to transform the ways we live, connect with people, understand different cultures, and exchange knowledge and ideas. Step into the future where smart cities are created through artificial intelligence, big data, robotics, machine learning, and autonomous transportation. Learn about the complexity of moving goods around the world and how mobility could evolve in the human-centered city of the future. Again, Nora is here pointing up in the sky, imagining what's beyond. And this time, we see she's gazing at the stars and the butterflies. She is looking into the future. That's the future we have explored briefly in the mobility pavilion. Thank you so much for watching. If it's your first time, I suggest you subscribe to this channel, click the notification bell, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Until we meet again in the next video. Thank you.